I married Amanda 4 years ago on a sunny afternoon in September, convinced I had found the person I would grow old with. We were both 26, working steady jobs, building what I thought was a partnership based on trust and shared dreams. I worked as a software engineer. She taught second grade, and together we lived simply in a small apartment in Austin, saving every dollar we could for the house we planned to buy. But there was something I did not see clearly back then, something that would eventually tear us apart. Her family always came first, no matter the cost. And when they asked for our entire life savings to invest in what they called a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, Amanda turned to me and said, "You need to choose me or that money." That night, I finally understood our marriage had been over long before either of us admitted it. Before I tell you how I walked away from everything we built, let me know where you are watching from. Hit that like button and subscribe, because what happened next taught me the most expensive lesson about loyalty I will ever learn. Now, let me take you back to where it all started. Amanda and I spent our first year of marriage in a cozy, one-bedroom apartment on the east side of Austin. The place was nothing fancy, just 800 square feet with thin walls and a kitchen barely big enough for 2 people, but it was ours. We both worked hard during the week, her grading papers at the dining table, while I debugged code on my laptop, and we made it a point to live below our means. Every Friday night, instead of going out to restaurants, we cooked dinner together, trying new recipes and laughing when things went wrong. We skipped expensive vacations, turned down invitations to costly events, and funneled every extra dollar into our joint savings account. The goal was clear. We wanted to buy a house within 5 years, something with a backyard and enough space to start a family someday. After 3 years of disciplined saving, we had managed to put away $87,000. I remember the pride I felt watching that number grow each month, knowing we were building something solid together. Every deposit felt like a small victory, proof that our sacrifices were paying off. I thought we were on the same page, moving toward the same future. But Amanda's family had other ideas. Her father, Gerald, was 62 years old, a former sales manager who had taken early retirement a few years back. He was the kind of man who always had a new scheme, always chasing the next big thing. Her mother, Patricia, was 58, a homemaker who had spent most of her life supporting Gerald's ambitions, no matter how questionable they seemed. Then there was Trevor, Amanda's younger brother, 29 years old, and still trying to find his footing in life. He bounced from one job to another, never sticking with anything long enough to build a career. They lived in Dallas, about 3 hours north of us, and from the beginning of our marriage, I noticed a pattern. Gerald and Patricia would call Amanda, asking for money, always with a reason that sounded urgent. The first time it was $500 to repair their car. A few months later, Patricia needed $1,200 for what she described as medical bills. Then Trevor asked for $2,000 to start some vague business venture that never materialized. Amanda always said yes, and the money was never paid back. When I gently brought it up, suggesting we should set some boundaries, she looked at me like I had suggested something cruel. "They are family," she said firmly. "We help family." I felt uncomfortable, but I did not want to start fights, so I let it go. Everything shifted in November of last year, when Gerald discovered cryptocurrency. He called Amanda one evening, his voice buzzing with excitement, talking about the so-called cryptocurrency revolution. He had joined some investment group online, he explained, a community of people who were making serious money trading digital coins. Gerald claimed he had put $5,000 into some altcoin I had never heard of, and had turned it into $8,000 in just 2 weeks. Amanda's eyes lit up as she listened to him on speakerphone, and when she hung up, she turned to me with a hopeful expression. "Maybe we should try it," she said. "Just a little bit to see what happens." I shook my head. "That sounds like gambling, not investing. We have a plan, Amanda. We stick to the plan." She looked disappointed but nodded. "Okay, you are probably right." But the conversation did not end there. Over the following weeks, Amanda spent more and more time on the phone with her mother, always stepping into the bedroom and closing the door when I walked by. I could hear her voice through the walls, animated and engaged, and I knew they were talking about cryptocurrency. I tried not to let it bother me, tried to trust that Amanda understood the risks, but a knot of worry started forming in my stomach. By January of this year, the pressure had intensified. Every time we visited her family in Dallas, Cryptocurrency was the only topic of conversation. Trevor would pull out his phone and show me screenshots of profits numbers in green that supposedly proved he was making money. Patricia talked about how they were building generational wealth, how this was their chance to change everything. Gerald sat at the head of the table, playing the role of the wise patriarch, explaining to me in a patronizing tone that I was being too cautious. One Sunday afternoon in late January, we sat down for dinner at their house, and Gerald fixed his gaze on me. "You are playing it too safe, son," he said, cutting into his steak. "This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. People like us do not get chances like this often." Trevor chimed in, leaning back in his chair with a smug grin. "Do you want to work until you are 70 or retire at 40? That is the real question, Reuben." I kept my voice, even refusing to take the bait. "We have our own plan. We are comfortable with it." Gerald set down his fork and sighed like I was a child who refused to understand basic math. We did not raise Amanda to settle for mediocrity. The words stung more than I expected, but I did not respond. On the drive back to Austin that night, Amanda sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window in silence. I could feel the tension radiating off her, and when we got home she finally spoke. "What if they are right?" she asked quietly. "What if we are missing out on something huge?" I turned to face her, trying to keep my frustration in check. "Amanda, this is risky. We do not know anything about cryptocurrency. We could lose everything." "But what if we do not?" she shot back. "What if this is real, and we are just too scared to try?" I explained the risks again, talked about our long-term plan, reminded her why we had been saving so carefully. She seemed to accept my reasoning, but I could see doubt in her eyes. That night, we went to bed without resolving anything, and I felt a distance between us that had not been there before. In early March, Gerald called and invited us up to Dallas for what he described as a family meeting. Something about the way he said it made my chest tighten, but Amanda was eager to go, so I agreed. When we arrived that Saturday afternoon, the whole family was waiting in the living room. Gerald had his laptop set up on the coffee table, and as soon as we sat down, he launched into a presentation. He showed us charts, graphs, testimonials from people in his investment group, all of it designed to look professional and convincing. Then, he got to the point. "We want to pool our resources together," he said, his voice serious. "If we invest $150,000 right now, we could turn it into $500,000 by the end of the year." I felt my stomach drop. Gerald continued breaking down the numbers. He and Patricia would contribute $40,000 from their retirement savings. Patricia had $15,000 from an inheritance her aunt had left her. Trevor was putting in $8,000, everything he had. And they needed Amanda and me to contribute $87,000, our entire savings. "That is our house down payment," I said, my voice sharper than I intended. "That is 4 years of work." Gerald leaned forward, his expression condescending. "Houses will always be there, Reuben. This opportunity will not. You can buy a house anytime. You cannot get this kind of return anywhere else." Trevor jumped in, his tone more aggressive. "Come on, man. We are family. We grow together, or we do not grow at all." I looked at Amanda, hoping she would back me up, but her eyes were pleading, begging me to say yes. I took a breath and shook my head. "I appreciate the offer, but that is not a risk we are willing to take." The room went cold. Patricia's face fell, and Trevor muttered something under his breath. Gerald closed his laptop slowly, disappointment written all over his face. The drive home was silent, the tension so thick I could barely breathe. The week after that meeting, everything changed. Amanda became distant, spending hours on the phone with her mother, always leaving the room when I tried to join her. She stopped making eye contact during dinner, stopped asking about my day. I could feel her slipping away, and I did not know how to pull her back. One evening I finally asked her directly, "Are you upset with me?" She exploded. "My family is trying to help us and you treat them like they are trying to scam us." "I am protecting our future," I said, trying to stay calm. "That money took us 4 years to save Amanda." "You mean your future?" she snapped. "You never cared about what I want." Her words hit me like a punch. "Since when is losing our savings what you want?" She did not answer. She just stood there, tears streaming down her face before turning and walking into the bedroom. That night, we slept on opposite sides of the bed, our backs to each other, and I realized something fundamental had broken. Over the next 2 weeks, her family ramped up the pressure. Patricia started texting me directly, sending messages like, "Ruben, I know you love Amanda.